Thank you so much for joining our Keynote session. These videos are just resources for you to have as you go through the attendee slide deck. So with Keynote, it is a slide presentation tool similar to PowerPoint or similar to Google Slides, but some of the great features about Keynote is that they've incorporated a lot of artistic aspects that they've borrowed from other very established high-end applications such as Adobe Creative Suite. So we are going to explore some of those functions that make Keynote really special. So in our first section, Shapes, we'll learn how to add a shape, how to format it, and how to combine shapes to make new creations. So here on slide 3, our instructions are to add a circle. On the top right of your Keynote application, you'll see different commands. You see a play button, which will play the presentation, a paintbrush, which will format whatever is selected. So formatting means you can change the color, you can change the font, you could change the position of whatever is selected. So anytime you're in an Apple application like Keynote or Pages or Numbers, the paintbrush will always indicate formatting. The plus sign is where you would add different types of objects. You can add a table, you can add a pie chart or graph, you can add shapes, and Keynote has more than 700 different shapes that are free for you to use. And then finally, you can add different types of media files. So you could add a photo or a video. You can take a photo right within the Keynote application without having to switch. You can record audio. You could import photos from a different destination on your iPad if you already had them curated. And you can also draw. The circle with the person inside with the plus sign, and I'm looking again at the icons on the top. So this circle with the plus sign is where you would add collaborators. So Keynote, Pages, and Numbers all fall within Apple's iWork suite. iWork functions very similar to Google in the sense that all of their applications are collaborative friendly, meaning I can add people to this document and we can work together in real time on the same file. And finally, the 3 dots, the ellipses within the circle on the right, are always going to be your larger options, meaning change the document size or layout, change the settings of the document, set up your Apple Pencil, share the document, export it, or print it. So in order to add a circle, we'll tap the plus sign and select shapes, and you'll see that the shapes are organized in different categories. So you have basic shapes, geometric shapes, and that's new, I believe, with iOS 13, objects of different kinds, animals, nature, food, symbols, and the list goes on. So if I'm adding a circle, I'm just going to select from the basic shapes, and here's my circle. And I think I'll enlarge it by dragging the diagonal blue, or the top right blue dot. So you can also change the dimensions of these shapes. If I were to drag one of the blue dots on the side of my selection, I could turn this circle into an ellipse. But for our sake, I'll leave it as a circle. Now there's multiple ways to copy a shape or an object, meaning text also, in Keynote. I can either tap on the shape with my finger and I'll see that the format options come up. So within this black bar of formatting, I see cut, copy, paste, delete, add to shapes, comment, link, or animate. I personally like to use keyboard shortcuts, so in order to copy and paste items, I would just press Command C on my keyboard while the circle is selected, and then Command V. But if you're working on an iPad without the keyboard, or you would like to not use the keyboard shortcuts, feel free to tap on the shape to reveal the function bar, press on Copy, tap off of the shape, tap again, and press Paste. So here I have my second circle, and something really nice within Keynote, Pages, and Numbers is this snap to grid vector function. So you can see as I move my shape around, the yellow grid lines are showing up to tell me when I'm exactly centered with something else on the page. So right now my second circle is horizontally aligned with the first, and if I slide the circle to the right, it will also tell me when I'm vertically aligned with the arrow and the text. So that looks pretty good to me, and now I want to change the color of the circle. So for that, I will need to go into the formatting options by pressing on the paintbrush on the top right, and I think I'll make this circle orange. So I'll tap on fill. You can see that you have some preset options, which are mostly monochrome. And if I tap on color, I have some preset colors here. I can also choose from a gradient option where you can set the start color and the ending color, and also the angle of the gradient. So if you slide the slider here, you'll see that the gradient on the circle changes. But I think you can even do an image fill. So I could fill this with an image of leaves or tiles or a pattern that I took a photo of, but I'll be pretty simple and I'm just gonna make this an orange circle. Moving on to slide 4. Slide 4 helps us explore the arrange functions. So arrange is a set of functions that live under formatting, and they allow us to change the shapes that we have in our stock set. We can combine them to make different shapes. So here my instructions say add 2 different shapes and have them overlap. So I will choose a square. And for our purposes, I will make it bigger. And I think I will choose a circle. I will choose a circle. And it's a little difficult to see those 2 shapes overlap because they're both black. So maybe I'll change my circle to be orange again. And I'll change my square to be green. So now the instructions say to overlap the shapes. So here I have part of my circle overlapping the square. Highlight or select both shapes, and then I will see the arrange functions, I will see the following functions show up under arrange. So in order to select both shapes, I'll tap on the screen next to the box, and I'll just hold my finger down and drag across to select both objects, similar to what you would do with a mouse. When I select them and tap on the paintbrush, I'll see that there are style options, text options, and the third option, which is arrange. When you have 2 objects selected, if you look all the way down under arrange, you see combine shapes. So with 2 objects selected, you will see these options to unite, intersect, subtract, or exclude. And if we play with these different options, we can see what those options do. So the first option I will tap is unite. So that looks like the 2 squares that are filled in, and you can see that it makes one shape. I will undo that by pressing Command Z on my keyboard. And again, if you don't want to use your keyboard, you could also undo by pressing the backward facing circle on the top left of your iPad screen. So next to presentations, there is a table formatting button, and then you see a left facing curved arrow, and that is your undo button. So I united our shapes and then I undid it so I can explore some other functions. So then I'll select intersect, and I'll see what that does. So when I press intersect, that function deletes all parts of both shapes that are not overlapping each other. And I will press Command Z again to undo, tap on arrange, and now I will explore subtract. So subtract will remove all parts of the top shape that are overlapped with the bottom shape. So because my circle was on top of my square, it deleted the circle, and it deleted part of the square that was underneath the circle. I will undo that. And then let's explore exclude. So if I look at exclude, it looks like it will take away parts of the shape that are overlapping each other. So I should expect that a sliver of the circle should disappear. And that is exactly what it does. So I'll press undo there. And one neat thing to play around with also is if you wanted the circle to be behind the square. So remember, when we press on subtract, it deleted the top object and part of the bottom object that was beneath it. So if I wanted the circle to then be behind the square so that the square was deleted, I could tap on my circle, format, so press on the paintbrush, go to arrange, and you see that with only one shape selected, you have a different variety of options. So with only the circle selected, I can move that circle to the back or the front by manipulating the slider So where it says move to back/front, there's a slider, and I can choose whether I want the circle in front of the square or behind it. Slide 5 asks us to use the functions to create the blue shape that we see on the left side of this slide. Our instructions are to highlight or select all of the shapes, so we'll do that by pressing down on the screen and dragging our finger across until we've selected the circle and the 4 stars. We'll tap on the paintbrush, tap on Arrange, and then we will select Subtract. So Subtract is the third option that we see under Combine Shapes. And here you see that the function has subtracted not only the top objects, which were the stars, but also parts of the circle that were beneath the stars. Slide 6 says on the next slide, use Arrange to make the following shape by adding a circle behind our creation. Okay, so first we need to add our creation to slide 7, so I will go up here to slide 5. I'm tapping on the shape that we created and I'll press copy, and then I'll go to slide 7, tap anywhere on the slide, and I'll press paste. So now I have the object that we have created, and I need to also add an orange circle to the background, so I'll tap on the plus sign, select a circle, and what's nice again in Keynote is that if I drag the top right corner, or you could even drag bottom left, bottom right corner, it will tell me when my circle is the exact size as the other shape on the page. So it's going to tell me when I am at the same size as the blue circle. And it will do that by showing you the dotted lines on the screen. So now I need this to be orange, so I'll change the color. But I also need it to be behind the blue shape that we had created. So I need to also tap on Arrange here and move the orange circle to behind the blue shape. And there you go. And if you wanted these two shapes to remain together, you don't want them to ever come apart, or you don't want students to be able to separate them, all you would do is highlight both shapes, and you'll see that the black function bar comes up. So there is cut, copy, paste, delete, and group, and we would select group. Once you group these two items, they are no longer separable and they move together as one piece.